Hello Smashers, it's Jansen here and welcome back to my channel. This week we're going to be covering selling in Europe. So I'm going to be talking about why I think you should be selling in Europe, and then I'm going to be talking about how you can sell in Europe using the two different platforms that Amazon offers, which is the European Fulfillment Network and the Pan-European Fulfillment Network. Now, the reason for this video comes because I have myself launched in Europe within the last few weeks, so I've picked up lots of tips and tricks myself. I've learnt a lot, which I'm going to be revealing in this video, and of course I've made a number of mistakes, so I'm also going to be revealing those in this video and in a number of videos to come over the next few months. So without further ado guys, let's get into it. The first thing that I want to cover is about the opportunity of selling in Europe and what it provides. So for those of you that aren't familiar with this fact, I'll be honest, I wasn't until about 10 minutes ago. The population of Europe is 600 million people. That is 10 times the population of the UK. Now, of course, not everybody in Europe is able to use Amazon. It's only available in 4 countries right now. But in terms of the reach of people, in terms of the amount of customers that have access to Amazon, the figure is 230 million people. That is a crazy amount. Like the UK is about, what is that, about a third or something of that. So you can really see just how big the opportunity is of being able to sell in Europe. The amount of people, the pool of people, just from turning that switch on and selling in Europe is ginormous. So that is one of the first reasons that you should really consider selling in Europe, and that was probably one of my reasons. Now, the second reason to consider selling in Europe is the fact that it is way less competitive currently than the UK is, and certainly the US is. The European market is without a doubt way less mature than the UK market. I just looked this stat up as well. There are 200,000 sellers in total across all of the European markets, which compares to about 2 million globally with Amazon. So you can see just how fewer sellers there are in the European markets. And what does that mean for us? Well, it basically means that if we get involved now, it's going to be far easier to climb up the rankings, climb to that front page, and be able to basically hold our ground by the time that the European markets become a lot more competitive. So I genuinely believe, guys, that now is a fantastic time to get your listings onto the European marketplaces, and to actually start, building reviews up and building orders up so that you can climb to that first page position quickly before everybody else realizes just how big an opportunity the European market really is. So that's the second reason, less competition. The third reason to sell in Europe is the fact that the expected level of growth within the next few years within the European markets is huge and completely outweighs the US and also outweighs the UK. So I just looked this stat up again. This video is full of statistics for you guys to really kind of hit home the point about how big an opportunity this is. So European markets are expected, in terms of their online spending, to grow 12% per year for the next few years, and in comparison the US is expected to be flat or to shrink. The internet is becoming far more accessible and far more viable way to shop online within Europe. Far more people nowadays are choosing to shop online, not only just in the UK but within Europe as well. So that, again, it's all about looking to the future here, guys. Although the European market isn't as mature at the minute, it is expected to become a lot more mature within the next few years. And what does that mean? Well, if there's more people spending online in the next few years, that is going to mean more sales on Amazon and more profit for the people like us that actually start to list in the European markets today. Now, the next reason you should really consider selling in Europe, and this one again was a massive one for me, is the fact that selling in Europe has barriers to entry. Now, when you decide to sell in Europe with Amazon FBA, there are 4 marketplaces that your product will be listed on. That will be Italy, Germany, France and Spain. Now, what do those 4 countries have in common in terms of language spoken? The answer is none. If you want to sell in Europe, you're going to need to list your product with 4 different languages, and that acts as a massive deterrent, especially to people that don't even speak English full stop, so especially to like Chinese sellers. So because of that, a lot of people are kind of put off from listing their product within Europe because it's a lot more work if you haven't got any grasp whatsoever of the English language or of the other European languages. So when you come to write your listing, you're going to have to translate it, you're going to have to do your keyword research in 4 different languages, and you're going to have to do pay-per-click advertising in 4 different languages. Now, this is something that I've actually been going through in the last 2 weeks. I've been having to do keyword research in different languages and also and like pay-per-click and all sorts of things like that. And without a doubt, it is quite difficult. But the thing that really keeps me motivated to doing it is because I know that other people just will not be bothered. They'll be thinking, no, there's no way I'm going to do that. Therefore, I'm not going to either have a good optimized listing in the European marketplaces, or I'm not going to bother at all. So that is a real reason, guys, to getting stuck in with Europe now. From my experience in the last few weeks, although it is quite tricky because you've got to be able to like coordinate your keywords and your pay-per-click in a different language, it is not impossible. There's something called Google Translate where you can literally copy and paste and basically see what the words mean. And it's, you know, if I can do it, then you guys can definitely do it. So that for me is another reason to get involved. The fact that there are barriers to entry. If something appears quite difficult, then, you know, that's something that I want to get stuck in with, because I know that most of the people, 99% of other people, are just not going to be bothered. So that's the final reason. So overall, guys, if I haven't made it clear, I would really ask you to consider selling in the European marketplace for these reasons alone. There's probably hundreds of others, but these were my main reasons for choosing to launch my product within Europe. Now, in terms of how you can actually sell your product in Europe, so there are a number of different ways. I'm going to talk about 2 different ways today that Amazon offers. Now, the first is called the European Fulfillment Network, and the second is the Pan-European Network. Now, it is really important here, guys, that you understand the difference between the 2. I'll be honest, about 6 to 8 months ago, I didn't really get the difference between the 2. I don't even think I thought about it. I was just like, whatever, they're both selling in Europe, they're probably just slightly different. But there is a huge difference between the 2 in terms of the implications and in terms of fees and benefits and all that jazz. So I'm going to be running through each of those today, and then at the end of the video, when I've kind of covered those 2, I'll be talking about which one might be right for you. So let's run through what the European Fulfillment Network is, first of all. So as this picture is a very good way of describing what the European Fulfillment Network is. So what it is as normal, if you're a seller in the UK market, you will get your goods shipped from China over to the UK, like fulfillment network, fulfillment center, and then Amazon will just store it there as normal. As soon as you turn on the European Fulfillment Network option, essentially what will happen is 4 listings will be created in Italy, Germany, France, and Spain. They'll be automatically translated, and then that's pretty much it. Customers in those markets will be able to go on to their version of Amazon, type a product in, type whatever they're looking to buy in, and if yours comes up, they can buy it. Now, the difference here, the key thing here, is that despite the listing being available in all these different countries, your stock will not move. It will stay within the UK until a customer places an order. So let's say I am based in Germany, your listing comes up, it will say on the listing, dispatched from the UK, I can buy it, and then a couple of days later, it will arrive having been dispatched from the UK. So that is the main identifier of the European Fulfillment Network here. The stock stays in the UK until it is ordered, and then it's dispatched to the customer's address. Now let's run through the advantages. So obviously the first advantage is turning this on at the flick of a switch opens you up to 230 million customers plus. There's going to be more than that. That 230 million was the statistic from 2 years ago. So it's opening you up to a massive pool of customers. The next benefit is that there's minimal effort required from you. You don't need to, start registering like in all different countries and things like that. You literally log in to your Amazon Seller Central account, you tick the switch that you want to do European Fulfillment Network, and then that's it. If you want, you can then go into each individual listing, having paid for somebody to translate it for you and edit it. However, Amazon does it automatically. When I first started selling my products on Amazon, I just flicked the switch, didn't actually translate it professionally. And I did get a few orders like organically. I'm not sure how that happened, but I didn't pay anybody to translate it or anything like that. So I would say it's worthwhile turning on and just kind of forgetting about. And if you get a sale, then great, it's a sale that you've got and a bit of extra money in your pocket. The next thing is there's no major setup costs, as I kind of referred to there, and there's no need to register for VAT, provided that you're not making tons and tons of sales. If you're doing like £100,000 worth of sales or 100,000 euros worth of sales in Germany, for example, you will need to register for like a tax certificate and VAT. But if you're making that amount of sales, I would strongly advise you to listen to the next part of the video where I'll be kind of running through that. But assuming that you're not, assuming that you're a new seller or you're just selling in the UK, I would say you're probably not going to need to register for VAT at this point. Now, in terms of the disadvantages of the European Fulfillment Network, well, the first is that the fees are higher than if you were just selling to UK customers or if you were doing the Pan-Europe program. And the reason for that is, well, obviously postage costs are going to be higher for Amazon. They're shipping your goods from the UK to customers throughout Europe, so therefore the fulfillment fees are going to be higher. So when you are creating your European Fulfillment Network listing, make sure that you increase the price a little bit more so that it will cover those fees. And because of that, that kind of is another disadvantage. You're probably not able to price your product as competitively as you would like because of the fact that these fees are higher and your profit margins will be lower. The next disadvantage with the European Fulfillment Network is that you can't offer next day Prime. When you do list your product throughout the markets, it will say Prime, but it's not going to be next day. It's like 2 days or 3 days, which isn't like terrible at all. But in this day and age, people want things now. The minute they press order, they want it ASAP. So if you're listing on Amazon like Italy and your product says 3 days to arrive, and there's another seller that's got their stock stored in Italy or whatever, and it says 1 day to arrive, well, the customer's probably going to pick the person that can get the product to them quicker, aren't they? So that is another disadvantage. And the final disadvantage, and this is kind of a theoretical one, in the event of a no-deal Brexit, you'll probably have to pay customs fees, or the customer will have to pay customs fees, and as a result, they might be deterred from buying from you because we won't be part of the single market anymore. Goods are being stored in the UK, you're shipping them over to France, Germany, Italy, or whatever, and you'll have to therefore pay customs fees. But that is in the air at the moment. We don't know what's going to happen, but in the event of a no-deal Brexit, those fees will probably be there. So the next one is the Pan-Europe Network Programme. Now, the Pan-Europe Network Programme, again, as this picture very helpfully illustrates, is where you ship your goods to the UK as normal. They'll go into the fulfillment centre, and then again, you'll flip the switch if you want to, and then Amazon will distribute your goods throughout Europe based on an algorithm that they've got and based on your sales history in France, Germany, Italy, and Spain. So if you're making like 20 sales a day currently in Germany, then Amazon will ship enough units to Germany. If you're making like 2 units sales a day in France, then Amazon will ship those goods to France, and so on and so forth. So the real difference here between this and the European Fulfillment Network is that your goods will be stored throughout Europe in Amazon's different fulfillment centres, whereas in the European Fulfillment Network option, your goods are always stored in the UK. Now, let's run through the pros and cons again. Again, the advantage is 230 million new customers. There are lower fees versus the European Fulfillment Network option. Again, because it's all down to postage costs. If your goods are stored in Germany and you've got a customer ordering in Germany, well, that's obviously going to cost less than it will to post the goods from the UK. So there are lower fees, therefore you can price your product a bit more competitively and hopefully make more sales as a result. You're able to offer next day prime throughout Europe. So as I was saying before, in the European fulfillment option, it's 2 or 3 days, whereas this one, it's going to be next day or maybe even same day if the country in question offers it. And this is another big one, actually. This is a really good advantage here that I wasn't aware of until quite recently. There are no fees from Amazon for moving stock. So you only have to ship your goods to the UK and pay for transport once. As soon as you've done that, Amazon, free of charge, will take the right amount of units from you in the UK and they'll distribute them throughout Europe. There's no fee whatsoever for that. So that's a really good advantage. Basically, having this option here is opening you up to a huge amount of potential at not a massive cost in terms of transportation and things like that. And then finally, this again is the theoretical one. In the event of a no-deal Brexit, there's not going to be any customs fees because Amazon will transport them for you at what's known as nil cost, nil transfer. So they'll move them to Europe, there'll be no customs fees, and then you can sell without having to worry about customs fees. But again, guys, that one's theoretical. I think it's quite doubtful now that we'll have a no-deal Brexit. We'll have to see. Don't hold me to that, but hopefully that's not going to happen. Now, the next one, we're going to talk about the disadvantages now, and this is where it's really important to concentrate on these. So it's costly to set up. The pan-European network means that you store your goods in the different countries where Amazon has a fulfillment center. Now, as soon as you start storing your goods in different countries and selling goods in those countries, you become liable for VAT if you are not a resident there. So me, for example, I'm a resident in the UK. I sell goods in the UK. Initially, I didn't have to register for VAT. However, if I had then started storing my goods in Germany or France and selling goods there, I would be liable to register for VAT regardless of my turnover. And this is where it's really important that you realise the difference between the two programs. So because the Pan-Europe network means that you have to store your goods in different countries, that means that you are going to have to register for VAT, which is pretty damn expensive. I've just gone through it and I don't think you'll realise how expensive it is. It is 6.6 thousand euros, so it's about £6,000 in total, which is a crazy amount if you're just getting started, if you're only just starting to sell in Europe. But wait, okay, at the moment and probably for the foreseeable future, Amazon rather generously are paying that fee. The reason is that they're trying to attract as many people to the European platform as they can, and that £6,500 fee or €6,500 fee is quite a deterrent. And to be honest, had Amazon not offered to pay for it for me, I probably would have said, do you know what, I don't think I'm going to bother, I haven't got enough products at the moment, I'll wait another year or two. But because they have offered to pay it, and they have paid it now, I'm now in the European market and I'm now able to sell in all those different markets. So it is very costly to set up. However, as I said, at the minute, for the foreseeable future, Amazon covers that for you, which is very, very good. But if they do decide to stop promoting that, having that promotion, then that's quite a big disadvantage. Now, along with that comes the fact that if you're VAT registered, you're going to have to file VAT returns. Some countries require you to do VAT returns monthly and some are quarterly, and that is a bit of an admin headache. I have got an accountant, an Amazon recommended accountant that is doing that all for me, but again, it's quite expensive. I think so the VAT returns are €6,500, but I think the registration was around €7,000 on top of that. So not on top of that. So it's €7,000 for the first year to register for your returns, and then thereafter it's $6,500. But Amazon covers all of that in the first year. So just to clarify, in your first year, it's going to cost you €7,000 to get registered and file your returns, and Amazon will cover that. And then thereafter, it's €6,500, which sounds quite a lot, and it is, unless you're selling a number of units. So that's quite a deterrent. Now, let's run over what is best for you, because I want to break down that fee there for you to make you realize that in reality it's not actually too bad. So let's run through my thoughts. So the European Fulfillment Network option, in my opinion, you should have that turned on by default. It comes at no additional cost. Your goods are stored in the UK as normal. It just means that you're going to create 4 different listings, and if someone in France, Germany, Italy or Spain wants to buy from you, they can. It's an extra sale. You don't need to turn pay-per-click on. You don't need to worry about translation and things like that if you don't want to. Amazon will do it automatically for you. It probably won't be the best translation in the world, but it means that you have got listings and you've got an option for more people to be able to buy from you. Now, I did get my listings originally translated on Fiverr. I think it was like £30, and then when I got my enhanced brand content, so that's where you can do more pictures and more words, I actually got Amazon to do it for me. And again, because they're so eager to get people onto the European platform, they did it all for me for free. So Amazon's feeling very generous at the moment, guys, about getting people on the European platform. So that's definitely a reason to start thinking about it now. But as I say, it should really be turned on. Again, it doesn't cost much. It doesn't cost anything, this option. So I'd really consider turning it on. Now, the pan-network option, the pan-European network option, as we've just run through, it's pretty expensive, especially without Amazon's promotion. With Amazon's promotion, you essentially get your first year for free. So if they are running it, and if you are like serious about doing this Amazon FBA thing, which I hope you are, then I would certainly consider this option as well. Now, I just want to break down the cost, because if you are selling like, say, 10 or 20 units a day in the UK, then I would seriously consider this option as well. It might sound like a lot of money, but watch this when we break it down. So after the first year, your first year is free. After the first year, the cost is €6,600 for which basically covers VAT returns in 6 countries. Now, for those of you that have been listening carefully, you'll remember that I said there are 4 marketplaces in Europe. So you're probably thinking, well, why am I saying 6? Well, Amazon has fulfillment centers in the Czech Republic and in Poland, which means that because your goods are being stored there, you need to register for VAT there as well. So it's 2 additional countries. So it's €6,600 for 6 countries to do your VAT returns. That equals €550 per month, or €138 per month if you were only to think about those 4 countries: Germany, France, Italy, Spain. That means you need €138 of profit per month across each of those countries in order to cover those VAT returns. If we break it down even further, that means that in total, you need to make €20, like across all 4 countries, in profit per day in order to break even for that like fee amount, that VAT return. €20 profit a day. So let's just say that we're making €4 profit per unit. That means, guys, that we only need to be selling 5 units a day across 4 marketplaces in order to just break even. Now, if you're selling like 10 units, maybe even 5 units in the UK, then I am sure that you can eventually sell 5 units across a nearly 230 million customer base across Europe. So when I break it down like that, it really does make the whole pan-European network option a lot more attractive. So do give it some consideration, guys. As I say, the pan-European network option at the moment is being heavily promoted by Amazon. They're doing like all sorts of things for free. So if you're already selling on Amazon FBA, it's really worth considering. And if you're just getting started or whatever, I would definitely make sure that you have the European Fulfillment Network option turned on. And then further down the line, once you've got a bit more comfortable with the UK market, you can then consider this pan-Europe option. So that is it for this week, guys. Hopefully you have learnt a lot about selling in Europe and the pros and the cons and things. I genuinely think that if you're selling in the UK and you're confident about your sales and things like that, if you think you've got 5 or 10 sales or whatever every day and that's stable, I would really consider selling in Europe. It's exactly what I've done. I started selling about 2 weeks ago now, and I'm taking it one step at a time. I'm doing like a full launch in Germany at the moment, currently making like 6 or 7 sales a day, which I'm pleased with, and then I'm going to move on to the other markets. So that is it for this week, guys. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. Please do remember to subscribe if you have, or if you're looking for anything else to do with Amazon FBA. And of course, I will see you next week for a brand new Amazon FBA tutorial video.